So, I worked at this mid-sized marketing firm in Dallas for about 4 years. I started out as a junior associate straight out of college. You know how it goes: hungry, optimistic, ready to grind my way up the ladder. And for a while it was all right. I had a decent team, good vibes at the office, and back then, I thought my boss, Mark, was just a little strict. Turns out strict was just his polite face. Things really started going downhill after the pandemic. Like most companies, we had layoffs and pay cuts, but ours hit hard. Whole departments got wiped. The workload tripled, but the paycheck didn't move an inch. And somehow the only people safe were Mark's favorites. Me. I wasn't exactly on his bad side, but I wasn't in the inner circle either, so I was stuck in this weird middle zone, always overworked, barely appreciated. I kept telling myself it was temporary. Just hang in there, get promoted, maybe move departments. But it never came. I watched other folks, people I literally trained, get bumped ahead of me because they knew how to schmooze. Meanwhile, I was pulling late nights, handling client meltdowns, even stepping in to lead meetings when managers bailed last minute. Still, no recognition. Then came the straw that broke the camel's back. It was this big account we'd been working on for months, like, the kind that could really boost your resume. I led most of the pitch, even stayed up all weekend redoing the strategy when the client shifted directions last minute. When we finally closed the deal, Mark gave credit to Melissa, one of his favorites, who barely showed up for the prep. He said I'd assisted well. Assisted. I swear I felt my blood boil. I told myself to breathe. Maybe he didn't know. Maybe she told him she did more. But nah, deep down I knew he knew. He just didn't care. Things got even messier. Melissa started acting like she ran the place. Suddenly she was giving me orders like I reported to her. Even told me to stay in my lane during a client call. I reported it to HR, but guess who HR reports to? Yep, Mark. At this point, I started quietly updating my resume. Didn't tell nobody, just focused on getting out. I knew a few folks who'd left to start their own thing, a startup focused on data-driven content strategies for small businesses. One of them, Jonah, was my closest friend from the office. We had always joked about quitting and starting something better. Turns out he was serious. He hit me up one night. Said they were growing fast and needed someone to head up operations. Basically be the person to handle client relations, systems, workflows. Everything I'd already been doing, just with actual authority. The salary was slightly lower at first, but they had stock options and profit shares lined up. It was a no-brainer. I said yes. Now here's where it gets real interesting. Before I put in my notice, I talked to a few people at work I trusted. Low-key chats over lunch or late nights. Just casual, what-if convos. Turns out, more than half the team felt exactly like I did. Burnt out, ignored, ready to dip. I didn't go recruiting or anything shady, but I just talked, and I guess that was enough. So I drafted my resignation. Nothing dramatic. Just said I was grateful but ready to move on. I submitted it on a Thursday morning, right before our team sync. Mark calls me into his office. Reads it, scoffs. Says something like, "You'll be back." Nobody leaves this team without realizing what they're giving up. I swear, he smirked like it was some high school breakup. I didn't respond, just thanked him again and left. But what he didn't know, I wasn't leaving alone. That weekend, 4 other team members also resigned. Back to back. One of them was our lead designer. Another was the account manager for 3 of our biggest clients. All of them accepted offers with the startup I was joining. None of this was planned. They all made the move on their own once they saw I was serious. Guess misery really does love company. The next Monday, I heard from a friend still working there. Mark had a full-on meltdown in the Monday meeting. Said we'd conspired, and were trying to sabotage the company. Started locking down employee devices, checking emails, even threatening legal action. But there was nothing he could do. Everyone left on clean terms. All contracts respected. No poaching, no violations. Crazy, right? I didn't plan a takedown. I just wanted peace. But sometimes, When you leave, people follow, not because you're leading them, but because they were just waiting for someone else to go first. Ever been in a place so toxic that quitting feels like escaping a burning building? So yeah, after that Monday where the office basically imploded, I was already deep into onboarding at the startup. Let me tell you, the difference in energy, night and day. The team actually listened when I spoke. No backhanded comments, no ego wars. It was all hands-on. Everybody was building something that actually mattered. I felt like I could breathe again. But meanwhile, Mark was losing his mind. Apparently, he didn't think people would actually leave with me. I think in his head, I was just some background employee, useful but replaceable. He never really saw what I was doing behind the scenes. He just thought I was quiet and steady, but turns out I was the glue. A friend from the old job called me. She said Mark was sending emails to the whole team like, "This is a wake-up call. Loyalty matters." He even tried to guilt-trip the ones still left, like it was our fault for quitting. Not his fault for creating a garbage work environment. You know what really got him pressed though? Clients started asking questions. So one of the guys who left with me was handling a big account, like really big. He was the main contact for them, not Mark. So when he left, guess what? The client followed up with him instead of the company. Just like that, the trust shifted. Now Mark's scrambling. He starts calling former clients directly, trying to reassure them. Telling them the company's still fully operational, that nothing's changed. But clients ain't stupid. They saw half the team gone in 1 week. They saw names missing on project updates. One client literally emailed our old team's shared inbox saying, "Should we be concerned?" I heard about that and couldn't stop laughing. But here's the kicker. Mark tried to bring in replacements immediately, like within days. Just plugged in freelancers and interns to fill the gap. But nobody knew the systems. Nobody had the rapport with clients. And the interns? Man, they were posting questions in Slack like, "What does KPI mean, bro?" Around this time, he starts reaching out to some of us who left. First it was polite. "Just checking in, hope you're settling in." Then it turned into, "We really valued your time here, maybe there's a path back." I didn't even respond. But some of the others did, just to mess with him. One of them replied, "I'll come back if you give me your office." Petty? Yeah, but deserved. And while all this chaos is going on, guess what I'm doing? I'm building out client workflows, automating reporting systems, onboarding new hires at the startup, like I'm actually growing something. You ever leave a job and suddenly realize how badly it was holding you back? But here's something that really made me pause. One day I got a message from this quiet guy back at the old job. Never said much, always kept his head down. He said, "Man, seeing you leave made me realize I've been stuck for 3 years. You got out. You showed us it was possible." That hit different. Mark didn't get it. To him, employees were replaceable, just cogs in the machine. But once the machine started breaking down, he didn't know how to fix it. He thought people left for money. Nah. People left because they were tired of being treated like extras in a movie they were starring in. And the best part? We never badmouthed him publicly. No Twitter rants, no Glassdoor reviews. We just left, quietly. But the silence, that's what shook him the most. No drama, just gone. Honestly, at this point, I wasn't even mad anymore. I was just watching it all fall apart from a distance. Like watching a house of cards collapse, one breeze at a time. Funny how the guy who laughed when I said I quit now looked like the punchline himself. But yeah, that's not even the half of it. Wait till you hear what happened when one of the clients actually switched over to our new company, and how Mark responded to that. After all that mess at the office, people resigning, interns getting tossed into deep waters, Mark pretending nothing was wrong, I was honestly just minding my business. The new job had me busy, and I was finally sleeping better. No more Slack pings at 10 p.m., no more walking on eggshells around fake smiles. It felt good. But then one of the biggest surprises happened. There was this client, I'll just call them Iron Path to keep things vague. We worked with them for almost 2 years at the old company. They were tough at first, real demanding, but over time, I built a solid relationship with them. I was basically their go-to guy. They'd email me directly, even call me for quick changes instead of going through the official channels. When I left, I didn't reach out to them. I made sure to keep it clean, no poaching, no shady stuff. I respected my contract. But word travels fast in that industry, and somehow they found out I had joined the startup. I got a short email from their COO just saying, "Heard you're doing your own thing now, can we talk?" At first I was nervous. I thought maybe Mark was trying to set me up or something, but nah, this was legit. They were fed up. Said the new team handling their account was slow, disorganized, and clueless about the roadmap. I didn't say much, just listened. Then the COO dropped the bomb. They wanted to move their entire contract over to the new company, the one I just joined. They asked if we had the capacity to handle it. I checked with the team and they said hell yes. We drew up a proposal, way leaner and smarter than the one they had before. We got approval within a week. I couldn't believe it. This was the same client Mark had bragged about at every team meeting, the flagship account. And now, they were jumping ship. Voluntarily. No drama, just business. Well, when Mark found out, he lost it. One of my old coworkers forwarded me this angry all-company email Mark sent. He called it a betrayal. Accused the client of bad faith and questionable ethics. Claimed we had violated non-compete clauses, which wasn't true, and he knew it. We didn't approach IronPath, they came to us. And everything was above board. We even had the time-stamped emails to prove it. Then came the real desperation. Mark tried calling IronPath's office directly, multiple times, left voicemails. Even tried pulling in his legal team. But IronPath wasn't having it. They sent him a clean termination letter, and even said they were disappointed by the lack of professionalism after our departure. That one sentence probably hit him harder than the lost revenue. And bro, the fallout few. Turns out IronPath wasn't the only client watching. A few other accounts started asking questions too. Where's the old team? Why is the response time slower? Is there a change in strategy? You know how clients are. Once they sense instability, they don't stick around. They start window shopping. Meanwhile, we were onboarding IronPath like pros. Clean transition, smooth handoffs, and guess what? They signed a 12-month retainer. The biggest deal our little startup had ever closed at that point. It was surreal. Now let me back up a bit. I never wanted to be in this kind of situation. I just wanted to leave a bad job and do something better. I didn't plan any of this fallout. But when you treat people like trash for years, eventually it catches up to you. Mark kept trying to save face. I heard he even started offering bonuses to people who stayed, but nobody trusted him anymore. Some of them were already interviewing behind his back. One guy even told him during a one-on-one, "I'm just here till my house lease ends." Savage. And it wasn't just about us taking the client. It was what it represented. Mark built his whole identity on being untouchable. He thought people needed him. He thought clients stayed because of him. Turns out, they stayed because of the team. And when that team left, the whole thing started crumbling. You ever see someone who's always talking big suddenly realize they don't have that power anymore? That was Mark. The panic, the silence in his emails, the way he stopped posting on LinkedIn, it said everything. At this point, I should have felt guilty. But honestly, I didn't. I built that client relationship with sweat and patience. I earned their trust. And when the time came, they chose to follow that, not the company name. And Mark? He was finally learning what happens when you build a business on ego instead of respect. So after IronPath officially left and came over to us, I honestly thought that was the end of it. Like, all right, let the man deal with his mess. We're building over here, no need to look back. But then out of nowhere, things started popping up in my inbox from someone still at the old job. At first, it was just screenshots. You know, company Slack convos, meeting notes, stuff like that. One of them literally showed Mark blaming me by name for the chaos. Said I sowed division, that I poisoned the company culture. Bro, I was gone. I wasn't even talking to anyone there anymore. How is it still my fault? Anyway, I didn't respond. I just let it go. But then I get a private email from the person sending the stuff. I won't drop their name, let's just call them K. K had been working under Mark for over 2 years, and honestly, I didn't even know they paid attention to all the drama. They always kept their head down, showed up on time, never made waves. Turns out K was just surviving, waiting for a sign to get out. And when me and the others left, it shook something loose in them. K said the place became 10x more toxic after we left. Mark got paranoid. He started micromanaging everything. Set up these weird status check-ins every morning, like a school roll call. Even asked people to copy him on emails to clients. Who does that? Kay told me the vibe in the office was cold. People weren't collaborating anymore. Everybody was trying to protect their own back. It wasn't even about doing good work. It was about not getting blamed when stuff went sideways. And apparently, things were really going sideways. Clients were unhappy. Deadlines were being missed. Interns were quitting midweek. One literally ghosted after their first paycheck. Mark was yelling in meetings, throwing folders around, the whole 9 yards. The man was unraveling in real time. Then Kay said something that made me sit up. There was talk of layoffs again. Mark was planning to restructure the company, but he was only targeting the people who weren't loyal to him. Basically a purge. Kay said folks were walking on eggshells, worried their names would randomly be on the Friday list. And get this, he hired a new consultant to help manage morale. Paid her some crazy amount just to sit in meetings and say stuff like, "Let's all try harder next week." Like, bro, what? Kay started leaking more stuff after that. Not just messages, but actual internal reports. One of them showed the company's revenue dropped by 38% in 2 months. 38%. That's wild. Another file showed they lost 3 clients in the same week IronPath left. Just didn't go public with it. Guess the "nobody is irreplaceable" talk didn't age well. I asked Kay why they were even still there. Kay said they were watching, waiting to time their exit right. They had a plan to leave once their bonus hit, but they also didn't want the company to get away with acting like we were the villains. And honestly, I got it. Sometimes when you're in a bad place long enough, it messes with your head. You start thinking it's normal. That being talked down to, being ignored, being told to toughen up, that's just part of growing up. But once you see the other side, once you breathe real air again, you can't go back. Kay told me something that stuck with me. Said, "I used to think I was weak for wanting to quit. Now I know I was just exhausted from being treated like I didn't matter." That hit. So yeah, the leaks kept coming. Nothing illegal or sensitive, just enough to show how far things had gone. It was like watching a car slowly roll toward a cliff, and the drivers still arguing about who left the radio on. Mark tried to save face, of course. Started posting motivational quotes on LinkedIn again. Stuff like, "True leaders rise during tough seasons." But behind the scenes he was begging the board for more funding, trying to look stable while everything cracked underneath. And us? We were growing. Word got out that IronPath moved to our startup, and suddenly smaller clients started reaching out too. People who'd been watching from the sidelines. People who were tired of corporate BS and wanted something better. Funny how fast things flip, right? Mark laughed when I quit. Now he was leaking revenue and losing control, and the people he thought were too quiet to make waves? Yeah, we were making waves all right. By this point, things were already going downhill fast over there. The leaks from Kay kept coming. Client losses piling up. People walking out silently or just going full remote and never showing face on Zoom again. And then, right when you think it couldn't get worse for Mark, boom, Kay pulls the trigger. Now remember, Kay had been there for years. Low-key. Always got stuff done, always picked up slack, barely complained. Kay was the last kind of person you'd expect to stir anything. But I guess when you've had enough, you've had enough. So what does Kay do? They don't just send a resignation email. No. They send a document. Like an actual PDF file, titled, Exit Summary, Lessons from Leadership Failure. I'm not even joking. They CC'd HR. They CC'd Mark. They CC'd legal. They CC'd clients. And yes, I got a copy too. Don't ask me how. Let's just say, once stuff starts crumbling, everybody talks. The doc broke it all down, from the toxic culture, to the high turnover, to the way Mark ignored team feedback and pushed out good talent. Kay listed exact dates, names of people who left, what departments suffered, which clients followed. There was a section called Consequences of Ego-Driven Management, and another one titled, When Good Employees Walk Out, So Do Results. Man, it was brutal, but clean, professional. Not a single curse word or insult, just straight facts. The kind that punch way harder than anger ever could. And then at the end, Kay signed off with, I leave with no bitterness, only clarity. This is not how leadership should work, and I hope you eventually learn that people are your business, not just your payroll. Bro. I couldn't even clap. I just sat there staring at my screen like, wow. You know what happened after that? Silence. Like actual blackout mode. No response from Mark. No, we wish you well. No counterstatement, nothing. Dude just went full ghost. Then one of the other folks who still worked there hit me up. Said the internal Slack exploded with reaction emojis and quiet DMs after the email dropped. People were stunned. A couple folks even started planning their own exits, using Kay's PDF like a blueprint. Like, yo, this is how you do it. One even said, this is the first time I've seen truth hit the office like this. The craziest part? 2 of the clients who were still holding on? They pulled their contracts that same week. One of them didn't even call. They just stopped sending in project briefs and let the contract expire quietly. That's how fast the fallout spread. And Mark? Still silent. But word was, the board started asking serious questions. Like, why are we bleeding this much talent? And, why did we lose the Iron Path account? And, why did we find out from a resignation email that multiple departments are failing? When leadership gets embarrassed publicly, especially when clients are CC'd, that's when things move fast. A couple days later, Kay texted me. Just 2 words. I'm free. I didn't even need to ask what they meant. They left with their head up, their rep intact, and the kind of final mic drop most of us only dream about when we're stuck in some cubicle dealing with a boss who thinks he's the king of the world. And me? I felt proud. Like, not even in a petty way, just seeing someone who used to keep their voice small finally stand tall? That hit different. We ended up inviting Kay to work with us at the startup. They didn't even hesitate. They said they'd been waiting for a place that valued silence that comes from focus, not fear. I was like, damn, welcome home. Mark probably thought I was just one angry employee. Just another quiet quitter who wouldn't be missed. Now 5 of his best people are gone. His biggest client is gone. His name is losing weight. And the company? It's in damage control mode every single day. Funny thing is, I never planned this. I never wanted revenge. I just wanted peace. But when people get peace, sometimes that's what really messes up the ones who thrive in chaos. So yeah, after Kay dropped that PDF bomb and walked out, I figured that was it. Like, okay, this is the final nail. The man's definitely bleeding out now. But nah, the universe had more to serve. Or maybe karma did. Either way, what happened next was not something I expected. It was one of Mark's own people. I'm talking executive level, VP. Been with the company since the early days when they were just 5 people in a co-working space. We'll call him Jason. Solid dude, quiet but sharp, always played the long game. Jason was one of the very few people who ever tried to calm Mark down when he went off on his power trips. But I guess even Jason had a breaking point. So apparently after Kay's resignation blew up the office, Jason called for a private meeting with Mark. No HR, no assistants, just the 2 of them. And during that meeting, he told Mark straight up, I'm done. No drama, no begging, just plain truth. He said he was tired. Tired of covering for messes. Tired of being the adult in the room while Mark played boss. Tired of watching good people leave and getting replaced with interns and cousins. But here's the kicker. Jason didn't just leave quietly. He attached a memo to his resignation. This one was internal, not CC'd to clients or anything like Kay did, but it still made shockwaves. It went to the board, senior leadership, and the HR head. And someone inside leaked it to, you guessed it, me. I opened that memo like it was a thriller novel, and page 1 already had heat. Jason broke down a 12-month timeline of everything that went wrong, including names, meetings, dates, missed opportunities, and client fallout. He literally had a section titled, Leadership Failures and Avoidable Disasters. That line hit hard. And right after that, another section, Patterns of Behavior that Have Driven Key Staff Away. It read like a post-mortem report, except the body was still breathing. He even listed all the people who left in the past year, and beside each name, he wrote why they left. Not the fake HR reasons, the real reasons. Things like burnout due to unrealistic deadlines, left after repeated disrespect from leadership, had growth ideas shot down consistently, watched their role shrink to nothing. And right at the bottom of the doc, a bullet point that said, if even your most loyal people are leaving, maybe the problem isn't them. That one line made me sit still for like 2 minutes. I heard from someone still there that when the board saw the memo, they were stunned. Like they knew things were bad, but Jason's write-up put everything in black and white, and they couldn't ignore it anymore. Not with the revenue losses, not with the top clients disappearing, not with employee morale at rock bottom. Mark tried to spin it, of course. Told the board Jason was burned out and needed time off. Claimed he had already planned a restructure and that Jason wasn't aligned with the new vision. But the board wasn't buying it. They started scheduling individual meetings with department heads, like real audits, not just polite chats. That was when I realized the company might not survive this. You can lose junior staff, you can lose 1 or 2 clients. But when your own leadership team starts peeling away, and they leave you with receipts, nah, that's game over. A week after Jason left, one of the investors quietly pulled out. I saw it in the industry newsletter. No explanation given, just a quiet exit. You know how it goes, money always smells the fire before the flames are visible. Meanwhile, over at the startup, we were thriving. We brought in 2 new clients who literally said they reached out because they heard the exodus and wanted to see what we were building. One of them was a referral from a client Mark used to brag about having locked in for life. Crazy how fast all that crumbles. And still, no apology, no accountability, not even a statement. Mark was just trying to plug holes with silence and LinkedIn quotes like, "Adversity reveals true leadership." Nah, bro, adversity revealed your mask. Jason leaving? That was the final crack that exposed everything. People outside started paying attention now. Recruiters started asking questions. What's going on over there? Why are they bleeding execs? So yeah, after Jason left and that internal memo hit the board, everything kinda shifted. Like, you could feel the energy change, even from outside. My inbox started buzzing with messages from people still inside, people I hadn't even spoken to in months. Folks I thought had totally picked Mark's side when I walked out, now they were reaching out. Just saying stuff like, "Bro, it's happening," or, "Yo, it's getting ugly." Turns out the board didn't just read Jason's memo, they acted on it. First, they scheduled a mandatory leadership retreat with Mark and the remaining execs, except it wasn't a retreat. It was a closed-door session with an external consultant, a legal advisor, and a crisis manager. Basically, it was an intervention disguised as a leadership meeting. Word is, Mark came in loud, trying to spin, saying all the usual stuff, "We're in a transition period. People just couldn't keep up. I've already got a new structure in place, blah blah blah." But the board had receipts now. They had Jason's breakdown, they had Kay's email. They had emails from clients who pulled out and straight up said, This relationship no longer aligns with our values. They even had screenshots from Slack that got leaked showing Mark mocking some of the people who left. Like actual petty stuff that had no business being said by a CEO. So they let him talk for about 20 minutes, and then, silence. And then one board member, I'll call her Linda, apparently looked him dead in the face and asked, "Do you understand the difference between being in charge and being a leader?" I wasn't in the room, but someone who was told me that line landed like a hammer. Mark tried to deflect. Said he felt targeted, that people were ganging up on him. Said he was being blamed for things out of his control. But the board wasn't buying any of it. And this time, there was no scapegoat. No one left to blame. The strong team he used to lean on? All gone. The new hires didn't know enough to protect him. And the leadership team? Empty chairs and silence. And then the hammer dropped. They removed him. Yup. They stripped him of the CEO title right there, effective immediately. Told him he could stay on as a strategic advisor, which is just code for, sit in the corner while we clean up your mess. No power, no control. Just a quiet exit plan to save face. Bro, when I heard, I just sat down and stared at my screen for a full minute. Not because I was happy, but because, wow, I never thought he'd actually get held accountable. Not in this industry. Not in this world where loud, toxic dudes somehow keep failing upward. But I guess when you burn every bridge, eventually you run out of places to hide. 2 days later, they brought in a new interim CEO. Guess who? Jason. Yeah, Jason. Man went from walking out with a resignation letter to walking back in as the guy in charge. And from what I heard, the first thing he did was call a meeting and say, "We fix the culture or we close the doors, period." Honestly, respect. Meanwhile, back on my side, our startup was booming. We had grown by 4 clients in less than 3 months, hired 3 more ex-employees from Mark's company, and were getting invites to speak at tech panels about team culture and leadership transitions. Tell me that ain't full circle. I don't even feel bitter anymore, I'm just proud. Proud of the people who stood up. Proud of the quiet ones who finally spoke out. Proud of the fact that we built something real out of all that mess. Mark? Last I heard he was posting self-help threads on Twitter and calling himself a resilience coach. Yeah, okay, bro. Me? I'm busy building with people who actually care about each other. Funny, huh? All I did was quit. And he laughed. But in the end, he wasn't just losing me. He lost everyone.